Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I truly hope that everyone has had a blessed day and everything is going in your favor. Good evening, good evening. Everything is going in your favor. And if not, we ask you ask God to place it in your favor or give you favor for this day, the rest of the day that we have, so that you can see something better, so you can feel something different before you lay down and go to sleep. Glad to have Pastor Sam here with me tonight. How you doing there,
God
Pastor?
bless you. All is well. All is well.
Hallelujah. Amen. Amen. Wonderful. Wednesday, a wonderful Wednesday. And I'm glad that everyone that is going to tune in will tune in. We have some tricky weather. My voice is scratchy because this pollen, this rain, this change in weather, it kind of had me a little, you know, down today, but I'm okay right now. Take a little medicine, get your body right, and get going. Um, and again, hello to everyone that is going to join us on tonight. And again, thank you for coming in. You know, administrators of one of the largest hospitals of America in America cite loneliness as a major reason for overcrowded emergency rooms.
Wow.
This Parkland Hospital of Dallas, Texas, made this discovery when they were trying to find a way to clear out the unclogged system that they had in emergency rooms.
Mm-hmm.
They analyzed data and they came up with some high utilizers, a list of people that frequently visit the emergency rooms. They identified 8 patients who went to 4 emergency rooms 5,139 times
Wow.
in a 12-month period, costing the system more than $14 million. And then once they identified the names of repeat visitors, they commissioned teams to meet with them and determine the reason. And their conclusion was loneliness. Poverty and food shortage were also contributors, but the number one determinant was a sense of isolation.
Right.
And they felt that the ER provided attention, kindness, and care, which gave them the multiple reasons to continuously go to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you imagine, 8 people visiting 4 different emergency rooms 5,139 times in a year because they were lonely? Pastor, when we see that, what are we doing wrong?
I think first of all, we need to understand, the commission that God gave us.
Mhm.
And that's the love.
Right.
Out of all the commandments, love thy neighbor as thyself. The most said, the Bible said the greatest of this is love. Um, what greater love than man to lay down his life for a friend?
Right.
All of these things, all of these scriptures are coming back to one key component, and that's love. The human body needs companionship. That's the reason God said it, and after He made Adam, He said it's not good for man to be alone.
Absolutely.
So even at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
God recognized that man was almost incapable of living a life of solitude.
Yeah.
By himself. So we need one another.
Yeah. We need one another for that connection. And in saying that, with all of that, one of the biggest words that I've heard from talking with my kids and talking with other people about their kids is nobody gets me.
Right.
And that seems to be a word that has been passed around for people to just throw out there and say that nobody gets them. And it's hard for us to really get you if you don't open yourself up to receive help or, some type of communication, connection, to get rid of those things that you're going through. And I think since we live in this world of, social media, Zoom calls, all these video conferencing, teleconferencing calls, we have lost that connection, since even not only since the pandemic, but even slightly before that, we were losing it because people just wanted to, social media, that's it. I don't need to connect. I don't need to go there with you. I just need to know that you're there.
But I even think that the reason that people are so connected to the social media is for the attention.
Yeah.
Because they are lonely.
Right.
You think about it. A lot of the things that we see people do, and man, people wouldn't be doing all of that.
Right. Yeah.
Who would just blatantly make a fool of themselves,
Nobody's
just for attention.
Right.
Because somebody's watching. And I think that right there tells you exactly how lonely people really are.
Right.
If the only friends that I can have is my following.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth, you're not connected to you're really not connected to, I would say, really none of those people.
Yeah.
Now, you may have a few people that you are friends with that's connected to you on social media, but for the most part, I got on my Facebook account, I think I got maybe like 4,000 Facebook friends.
Right.
I may know 10 people.
Yeah.
Out of the 4,000 now, I may know of a lot more.
A lot more. Right.
But truth, I mean, really know, there's probably 10 people that I really have a relationship that I'm connected to. But there's 4,000 people that's connected to me.
Right. Right.
So, we have to really learn how to form true relationships with people again, because what we're doing now is it's like a facade. We're fooling ourselves.
Right.
We're painting this picture that we're happy, painting this picture, that everything is okay, but we're suffering in silence. Because as soon as you turn off that's the reason people be on Facebook, Instagram. I read a report that one guy was saying that he logged his time with his phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he said when he looked at his time, he spends 4.5 hours a day with his phone basically in his hand.
Right.
Man, 4.5 hours. But then that made me kind of look at myself and be like, wow. And I wonder if I'm holding my phone 4.5 hours a day. And I probably am.
Yeah.
That's too much.
It is.
Too much. And these are fake attachments.
Yeah. And I made a post. Somebody made a post the other day, and I shared it. And it talked about this same thing, how, it's hard for us to really build relationships when we're so consumed with our cell phone, social media.
Right.
Even when you're trying to get to know a person, and just say, for instance, you're out on a date or however you want to describe it, and the person that you were talking to is constantly doing this. And you're talking, and say, oh, what you say?
Right.
And it's like, how can I communicate to you when every time you turn up, you're on your phone?
Right.
And it takes away from trying to learn what's going on. And same way you said, there is something in your phone where you can do screen time, and it lets you know. Take a moment, do it for yourself. Find out how much time you're spending on social media. Compare that amount of time with how much time you're spending with your significant other or your kids, or even yourself.
All with God.
All with God. Those are key elements in growing your life.
That's right.
The more you spend time away from, and especially God himself, the more time you spend away from those two elements, the more you just lose yourself. Because now you're only trying to please or appease the masses of people that are watching you.
That literally cares nothing about you.
Right. And at the end of the day, you're still alone.
Still alone.
You're still alone. You're still lonely. You still have no clue of what you're being or what you need to do.
And the enemy understands this. That's why we have to be so careful when we deal with the airways, and we deal with the media, and we deal with different things like that. The reason we have to be so careful is because spirits carry over, and a lot of times we're not careful. We're talking about loneliness, but if you spend a lot of your time looking at other people's loneliness, you won't realize that, you know, that spirit of depression will fall on you.
Yeah.
So you have to be so careful. Even when we get caught into all of this, we have to be so careful because it's easy to get caught in the trap.
Right.
You know, it's easy to detach yourself from people that really care about you,
Right.
that you had relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're so caught up in so much other stuff that you've detached yourself from the people that you was actually had relationships with. Now you've lost relationships. Absolutely. Because you don't know how to communicate anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't have time for you. You know, I got to take this call. Yep. You know, we eating, but I got to get this. Yeah. I got to get this. We can't even have a simple conversation because, like you're saying, and what happens if we're not careful, even relationships. You know, some people say, "How can you be lonely in a relationship?" Yeah. When you detach from the other person and there's no communication, then you can be lonely within a relationship. Mm-hmm. Not just, you know, and the reason I'm saying is because, you know, a lot of people, we see others and we know what they're going through. We know they're dealing with depression and they're lonely. Right. But no one ever really thinks about the person that's in a relationship, don't realize that a lot of those are dealing with depression and loneliness. You know, which is sad, but God didn't create relationships to be lonely.
Right. And you know, I'm gonna stay there, but I'm gonna kind of take a curve for a minute since you mentioned that. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are dealing with loneliness in relationships, loneliness in marriages, loneliness all over.
Right.
And for you to understand that in order to get out of that, yes, God is the key. God is the key. But you have to make sure that you are trying to be in tune with your partner or your children. By doing that, you have to find out their likes, find out their dislikes, have conversations with them, meaningful conversations with them. And if it's not going the right way, find your mediator. Find you somebody that can sit down with you guys and try to help teach you or coach you in how to having a good foundational structural conversation so that you can grow. And if not, you'll continue to go down that path of being lonely, and then it's going to keep you separated, and it'll be so much harder for you to come back together. And that goes even for your children. You know, we as parents sometimes we feel like, well, these are our children, and they have to do what we say do.
Right.
And we have to sometimes listen to them, take in what they're saying, and then filter out, what you need to, how you need to groom and teach them. Because if not, they're always going to feel like you're not going to listen to what I'm saying. And not saying that you have to do what they say, but they want to have a voice in something, and that also teaches them how to speak up for themselves in their life. Because if we continue to say, hush, grown-ups are talking, that child will never learn how to be able to speak up for themselves. And they will always accept whatever it is thrown their way. Right. And that's not what we want. We want them to be able to be respectful, but also be able to stand up for yourself when you feel like something is right or something is wrong. And we got to do better with that. And all of that comes into the being connected, having a relationship with the person, and just being able to sit down and talk, take away the distractions, cut the TV off, put the phones away, get into a place where you can just sit down and talk. If you got to write it on paper, write it on paper. Find a way you can sit down and talk about something that you can grow towards. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do that, then you really have a problem, because you can't grow without that.
Right.
You can't grow.
For those of you that just kind of chiming in, just watching, we're talking about the complexities of loneliness and social isolation.
Absolutely.
Which is a real big subject, but it's not really talked about much.
Right.
And I think the reason we don't talk about it much is because we don't understand.
Right.
Or better yet, we really don't want to acknowledge it. Because I had I hate to throw out names, so I'm not gonna put names, but I had someone close to me, and I think this actually ties into the churches at fault as well. Okay. I had someone close to me when I was growing up, They used to teach in our church, a man that find a good thing,
man find a wife, find a good thing.
Right. Man find a wife, find a good thing. So the women took that to mean that they should just sit and wait on God to send them a man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many women I watched in my lifetime grow up lonely in the church because they thought that it was wrong for them to go out and date and meet people and have conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically was in isolation.
Right.
Because of the fear of what the church would say if they socialized. Because back in those days, if a woman was talking to a man today and tomorrow she was talking to somebody else, she
wild,
bug wild, ain't done nothing,
right?
Just conversated with, so it was one of those things where if she was talking to somebody,
mm-hmm.
they were supposed to either been in a relationship,
right,
or they were what they call courting.
Yeah.
And for people that don't really know what courting came from in the old days, they had a courtyard where the young ladies would go out and the young men would have to come and get permission to court the girl.
Right.
And they would sit in the courtyard and have a conversation. Right. So now that we're beyond that and we're past that, it kind of moved over into the church, and they never did teach these young ladies how to present themselves to a young man without being called per se wild or floozy or whatever,
loose,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And we never did come back and teach. I don't think we never did come back and teach these young ladies the proper way to make yourself presentable,
right?
So you can attract the proper, the proper mate. And I think we failed that in the church, and now we have a lot of women. Don't y'all beat me up, but this is just my opinion. We have a lot of desperate women in the church, and when I mean desperate, I don't mean desperate for sex or desperate for a man, but I mean desperate for a relationship.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's not that they're needy, because now we have women that, I mean, they doing it.
Right.
They got their business together. They're making their money. They taking care of their bills, doing all of these things. But now they're in a position of my success.
Right. Lies on
has made, and my success basically has made me lonely.
Yeah.
Because now, how do you approach and how do you make yourself approachable even when you're successful?
Right.
Because that's a whole nother issue that creates loneliness.
Right.
A successful woman can be a lonely woman because she don't want the riffraff that's coming at her.
Right.
But she's trying to hold on and wait for something good to come along, but don't really know how to present it.
What's considered being good.
Right.
And even in all of that, I want people to please understand that we know that God can, because I know there's some people that will feel like, well, God can do all these things. We know that God can do these things.
Right.
But the conversation is about trying to get a person's mind set up on that may not have that relationship with God, that may be working towards their relationship with God and need to build up to it. So when we talk about these things, it's talking about trying to heal and build so that we can make sure that we have that close relationship with the people and with God. Yes, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all its righteousness. Hey, that is the key. But these people, the people that are not going straight to heaven, seeking the kingdom of God first, we can go into all kind of teachings about that.
Right.
Okay. But let's stay on this and I don't want people to get too, wrapped around the axles of, digging into details of specifics, because we can get into specifics, but that's not where we are, at this time. But exactly what you're saying, I think we did lose track of being able to go back and reteach the people, because we have a lost generation of feeling that, well, This is the way they taught it, and they lied.
Yeah.
Or they told me a story. So how can I believe this now when they told me to do this, but they turned around and did that? And I think that's where some of the information flow was lost in that, and people just said, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about, what they're teaching at the church. I'm going to figure it out on my own. I'm going to go after this success, and I'm going to get it. And that is what, hey, being alone, just feeling like, well, I got this by myself. I don't need nobody.
Right.
I'm going to be all right.
Right.
And then you get lonely, you get vulnerable, and then you begin to receive or accept anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still have messed up.
And this is not just, I use the example for women, but it's not just for women.
It's for men too.
It's the same for men.
Right.
So many men are suffering with the same thing. I was watching today. I was watching a video with basketball player. I can't think of his name right now, but what he was saying is that with all this money he made and all the success, there was people all around him.
Right.
There was, everybody was pulling at him.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude broke down and just started crying. He said, man, I'm tired because I don't have nobody.
Right.
And, the guys that was interviewing, they were saying, wait a minute.
All these people.
Your family,
yeah,
your friends, all of these people, he was saying, man, they still wasn't for me. They were for what they could get from me.
Right. But
he said, with all of these people around me, basically he was saying, I want to kill myself. Yeah. He was saying, you know what? I'm just tired. I really just wish my life was over.
Right.
Because I'm lonely.
Lonely. Right.
And I was like, man, that's just so sad.
Yeah.
It's sad that you would be in when you think you would be in at the high point of your life. Mm-hmm. You got the money, you got the fame, you got the fortune, you've been successful, right. You've achieved all of this, and you don't have the love.
Yeah.
Lonely.
Yep.
All of that lonely. I look at Kanye West.
Right.
This guy is ranting and reaching out. And if you hear in his voice what he's basically saying, I'm lonely.
Yep. I don't know what to do.
Billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about a millionaire. This is one of the richest black men in America.
Right.
Billionaire.
Right.
Young.
Yep.
You would think that he would have everything.
Yep.
Or he could get everything.
Get anything he wants.
But you know what? You cannot buy love. You can buy the appearance. You can buy, fake.
Yeah.
But love at its truest form, you cannot buy it. It is something that has to be given. For God so loved the world that he gave. It has to be something that's given. And with all of that, this guy is saying, man, I'm lonely. He was crying the other day talking about Kim Kardashian wouldn't let his daughter come to church service. He's lonely.
Yeah.
Lonely.
Yeah. And research tells us that 1 in 5 Americans are lonely.
Wow.
1 in every 5 Americans. 1 in every 5 Americans. So that means if you have a household of 6,
wow,
there's a possibility that 1 in
somebody in your
house is lonely. How do you address that? If you have a congregation of 5,000, if you got a congregation of 20,
you got 4 lonely.
You got 4 lonely. They may not look it, but they're lonely.
Wow.
So those are things that we have to look at. And people say, well, I'm not lonely. I'm not going to argue with you because you are who you are. But I'll say that there's no person on this earth that would not face fear of being lonely.
Yeah.
No person. You're always there's going to be a time in your life you're going to feel alone. You're going to feel like you have no one. I don't care how much money you got.
Right.
I don't care how many people are surrounded by you. I don't care how successful you are. You're going to have to leave people where they are during that time. And guess what? That's going to bring about change in your life. Yeah. And that change is going to make you feel like I don't have anybody. because now you're trying to reach into a different social group because the group that you were in, you can't deal with because they're taking from you or they're bringing you so much pain. And so now you're changing and it brings about that loneliness. So you're going to feel that. And it's sad to say that in the church, there's so many church members. There are so many church members that are afraid to reach out to new people.
Right.
We are afraid to reach out to new people and bring them into the fold. And guess what? Why are we afraid? Maybe because we're lonely ourselves and don't know how to reach them. But we have to understand that in order to get people into the fold, you have to get connected.
That's right.
In order to connect, you got to reach people that you don't commonly or normally talk to. Jesus did it so much.
Right.
He met people that was not meant for, obviously not meant, but people that were normally, he would not normally, a normal person of his religion would not talk to.
That's right.
He met them where they were. He met them in their struggles. He met them in their pain.
Yeah. Reached outside.
Right. And he made them feel like they were not alone.
Right.
He made them feel like there was a chance for them to have a different way. Like week before last, the woman at the well.
Yeah, the woman at the well.
She felt like everybody was against her.
Right.
Nobody wanted to, because of her past. Everybody would always bring up her past, and nobody wanted to see the greatness or see the good and who she could be. So in her mind, well, all you're gonna do is talk about me. All you're gonna do is feel like I'm this and I'm that. Well, Jesus was like, hey, we're not worried about that.
Right.
I can give you life. I can feed you. Follow me.
Right.
Go and tell the people about who I am, that I am here. That's all I need you to do. To go out and compel men.
Right.
Let them know that, you know what? This man was not supposed to talk to me at the well, but he knew everything about me. And he told me that things were going to get better.
Right.
And that's what we need to be. We got to be able to help people in their loneliness and let them know that, hey, you know what? There's a way.
And meet them where they are. Don't try to take them nowhere too fast. Meet them where they are. And that's what Jesus did. He didn't say, okay, get out of what you're doing right now, and you have to be just like me.
Right.
He met them where they were. Wherever they were. I mean, if they was down in the slums, then he went down in the slums to get them. What it boils down to is that we have to be willing to step out of our comfort zone to grab somebody, that's in an uncomfortable place.
Right.
And it's kind of hard because when we good, we ain't really worry about nobody else.
Yep.
It's like, I'm good. I don't want to go to a bad place, to get somebody else because I'm finally out.
Right.
So a lot of times we don't want to deal with a person that's lonely for the fear that maybe we might get pulled in.
Right.
So no, I don't really want to be bothered with that. Nobody really wants to be bothered with that, but love pushes you beyond your comfort zone. It pushes you out of what you're normally used to.
Right.
It will push you out of that. I saw a comment that said, be careful when you're coming out of a relationship, and loneliness will drive you into another relationship. And that's true.
Yep.
That's very true. We can't fear loneliness, but at the same time, we can't depend on a certain person to grant us everything we need to stop from being lonely.
Absolutely.
Because when we put all of that in one person, you're gonna end up lonely.
You'll end up lonely. Because they're not gonna give it to you.
They're not gonna give it to you. You're gonna end up lonely. That's why being lonely is that the topic is the complexities of loneliness.
Yep.
So this is not just it's just not a short topic. It's a deep It's a deep topic because one person's loneliness is not another person's loneliness.
Right. That's my tablet.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounded like the angels were singing up in here. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, we have to be careful because uh, what we see or what appears may not exactly be what it truly is.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that, you know, when you see me and I look happy, sometimes you know maybe you need to take another look, because just because I'm smiling doesn't mean that it's joy.
Right.
You know, some people smiling and they crying on the inside. So what I'm saying is basically the love that we have should make us go a little bit deeper and find out just a little bit more. Just stay with a person long enough to realize just because they say they're good, don't take that as a good enough answer. I'm not saying to pry and to push, but I am saying when you have that feeling that something ain't right, then 90% of the time something is not right.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, as I said, you know, constant isolation. You know, people that like to stay to themselves, you know, it's hard for them to get out of wanting to help people or be of a help to people, because once you're constantly isolated, the devil plays tricks with you.
Oh man,
he plays on your mind. And you know, I used to say that I'm good being alone because I don't have to deal with people and I can just stay in my zone. But I had to find out that that was not a good thing, because all you do is you sit there and you think about the what ifs
too much,
or everything started running through your head. It's like, man, something is not right. But it also takes people being in your circle and people that care to understand and try to help get you out of that. You know, just to be able to talk to you about different things that are going on. But like you were saying, bitch, you know what? No, something is not right. You know, I something ain't right. You're gonna tell me. You might not want to tell me right now, but something's not right. And you know, like, you know, what you were saying, you know, at the topic we're saying complexities of. And, you know, that means that there are going to be times when you're going to be lonely. But we have to understand that in that loneliness tree, that there are symptoms, there are signs and ways that you can be treated and helped. So in your channels and times of being lonely, there's a way out.
Right.
There's a way out, because what you may be lonely or feeling lonely about, I may not be, or I may have overcome it. So don't feel like you can't talk to people to try to find out ways to get help.
But you know, my grandmother used to say, her saying was, in order to have friends, you must first show yourself friendly. And you know, I kind of understood what she was saying, but I really didn't totally understand what she was saying. What she was saying is there's a presentation, you know, that has to be made, and people have to see the presentation and they have to accept the presentation. Now, let me explain what I'm saying. If I just go out there and just, you know, just say, you gonna be my friend, or you won't be my friend, you know, that was like the first grade, second grade stuff. Right? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes, no, maybe.
Well, she said, in order to show, you must show yourself friendly. So people are watching us. People are watching how we move. People are watching how we do things. People are watching, you know, the different isms and schisms that comes up in our life, and they're watching that. And when you approach them, they pretty much have a preconceived notion of the approach. So I found out in my life that being nice, you know, the other thing she said, baby, it don't hurt to be nice. She said, don't cost you nothing to be nice. I found out that if you don't want to be lonely, you have to put yourself out there first. That's one. Then your presentation have to be inviting. And believe it or not, if you do those two things and you do them right, then the people that gravitates to you are the people that normally needs to gravitate to you.
Absolutely.
Or you definitely know the difference.
Absolutely.
You know, God will give you discernment where you can see, all right, yeah, they coming, but they're not real.
They're not real.
So that's and that's what we have to learn. We have to learn that, you know, our job is to show love, especially as a saint of God. Our job is to show love, but we have to understand that if we present ourselves right, and I'm saying this to young, I'm saying this to young women,
right,
and to young men,
correct,
because what you want to draw is you want to draw what's going to be conducive to your future.
right,
So if we present ourselves right and we put that energy out there, then normally we're gonna draw the right people.
right.
And I think that will cure a lot of the loneliness. One, I believe a lot of people are lonely because they're afraid to put themselves out there.
Right, absolutely.
You know, I just I don't know how they're gonna perceive me. Well, they ain't gonna perceive you no kind of way if you don't never put yourself out there.
That's the spirit of rejection.
That's right. I just what they may not like me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
But you will never know.
There were people that liked you then, don't like you now. So
that's right. You have to put yourself out there. That's I think that's one thing that can combat some of the loneliness is you just have to take that chance.
Right.
You have to put yourself out there. And once you put yourself out there, understand that everything ain't for you.
Everything ain't for you. Right.
Absolutely. You know, like I said, this young man had hundreds of people around him, but he had nobody for himself.
Right.
Nobody in his corner. So there may be a lot of people that gravitate to you, but everybody's not going to be in your corner.
In your corner. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the question was, what's the difference between being alone and being lonely? And so loneliness refers to being unhappy.
Right.
When you have no friends or no company or anything like that, you know, you don't have nothing or nobody that you feel like you can go to and talk to or even come visit you. There are many people that are in the nursing homes that are lonely.
Right.
Because even though they do have people that can come visit them, they don't.
Right.
So in that, they draw into that, as soon as someone come and speak to them, here they come. They want the attention. They're needing it. They're wanting it. Hey, you know what? Hey, this is what these are my people. This is what I went through. This is why I'm here. They want that attention because they feel so lonely. They feel like they don't have anybody. They've been stuck there and now they just there until they exist, until they, whatever happens to them after that. In that, it's like, you know what, there's no other way out.
Right.
So to me, that is what I feel like loneliness is. And being alone is a choice. I choose to be alone because I don't want to deal with people.
Right.
Because I don't want to deal with them on this day because I'm in my feelings and I just want to be alone.
Right.
Being alone is kind of like this word solitude as well.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of thinking on the lines of. I was thinking on the lines of being alone is a choice. Being lonely is not a choice.
Right.
Like you don't choose to be lonely, but you choose to be alone.
Right.
Being lonely is something that's being done maybe to you because of a situation or maybe just a circumstance. So I think man, you hit it dead on the head. Yep. That's a real good question.
Yeah.
Real good question.
And for anybody else that want to answer it, just leave your comments. What is your definition of being alone and or being lonely? And it's important that everyone else or anyone else answers because that lets us know how you feel.
Right.
And by understanding how you feel about those two words, being alone and or loneliness, it will let us know that, hey, you know what, this person needs prayer for understanding of how to not be alone or how to come out of this or how to feel better about themselves in that. And that is another way that we can help reach out to you in these sessions because we can understand where you're coming from and how you feel. But there's a great need for connection. As you talked about earlier, how in the beginning, when God made, he made the animals, he made male and female in the animals. When he made Adam, he said, you know what? It's not good for man to be alone.
Right. You need a companion.
You need a helpmate. You need someone there that can help you become a team. And now we're a team. Now we're able to go out and we're able to carry out the laws of the land as you gave us, dear God. Also, it tells us that um, since God said, we're being created in the image of God, it's one of the characteristics of God.
Right.
So we can't be alone and not be of God, because He said you're made in the image of us.
Right.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, of us.
So even God need
And
companionship.
even God needs companionship. Because if not, He wouldn't even have us created.
Right.
You know what? I'm here. Y'all do whatever you want to do.
Right.
It's okay. I don't have to worry about all of this.
And not to type it. That's the reason why. I read another post. Somebody did the other day, and I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was talking about being single.
Right.
Being single and being lonely is two totally different things.
Right.
You don't have to be lonely
and being single. Yeah.
Because you're single. So I don't want nobody to think that we're saying that if you're single, you're lonely.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not saying that, because I don't want nobody to think that, because there's a lot of people that think, oh, if a man is single, we're gonna say one or two things. We're gonna say either he gay
or something wrong with it.
Or something wrong with it.
Yeah.
The woman is single. We're gonna say she gay. or something's wrong with her.
Too many red flags, as they say.
Either way, we're gonna say bad things.
Right. Not that they're trying to find themselves a heel or anything like that. We want to throw up the negative stuff.
We always want to throw up the negative.
Right.
And that shouldn't be the case. But nowadays, people choose to be single, but they don't choose to be lonely.
Right. Right.
So you can still have real good relationships and be productive and be happy,
mm-hmm.
and all of these things being single. But now I wish that everybody had somebody and was
mm-hmm.
married and
happy,
children and the whole 9 yards. But we know that that's not going to be the case. So if that's not the case for you, then be single and be happy.
Right.
Just don't be lonely.
Yeah.
Find yourself some associations,
right.
Some friends, and some people to be able to go to and have stimulating conversations,
mm-hmm.
Take vacations, trips, all of these things, and be saved
right
while doing it.
Yeah.
So man, at the end of the day, what we're really just trying to push is that you don't have to be lonely.
Right. Right. And when you said that, my mind went back to the TV show, Love and Marriage with Al Bundy.
Yeah.
And the song was Love and Marriage go together like a horse and carriage.
Right.
But if you ever watched the episodes with Al Bundy, he was there, but he wasn't there.
Right.
He loved his family, but he'd rather spend time alone than a lot of time with his wife, because he felt like she was nagging or this, that, and the other, and vice versa.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we understand. Yes, it just came to my mind. But we also have to understand that is a reality in some people's lives.
Yeah.
And we have to fix that. We have to fix it, because if not, our children will continue to grow up and feeling like that's okay. That's okay to hate your spouse. That's okay to just coexist in a place,
right,
and that be it. And not growing up to be happy, not growing up to know how to truly love your family and show that those things that we need in order to grow and be a better people. That's what God designed us to be.
Right.
He didn't design us to be miserable and unhappy. He wants to be the happiest that we could ever be.
Right. I would that you prosper and be in good health.
And be in good health.
Your soul prospers.
Right.
So it was all about the betterment of man from the beginning.
Right.
It was all about, and that's what God was saying. He said it's not good. He didn't say that it's not possible.
Right.
He just said it's not good.
Right.
For man to be alone.
Right.
So solitude is something that you can do, but there's a couple of things that happens when you deal with solitude for long periods of time. One, you become socially retarded. I was trying to find a good word, but you become socially. I'm just going to use it, but
ignorant,
socially ignorant. All right, that's better word. Then there's certain things that happen mentally.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
When you spend too much time in solitude, people that live like in the wilderness, Alaskans,
mm-hmm.
they have this thing in the wintertime they can't come out because of how cold. It has this thing called cabin fever.
Right.
Cabin fever happens when you're trapped up in a confined area for a long period of time,
right.
And your mind you start hallucinating, mm-hmm. and your mind start playing tricks on you. Those are the type of things that happen when you spend too much time in solitude.
Right.
Now, we're not talking about prayer and supplication,
right?
Because we need solitude.
Absolutely.
Every now and then, we need to get away from our husbands, our children, our family, our friends, and we need to have time to meditate, mm-hmm. refocus, consecrate.
Absolutely.
We need time for those type of things. But what we're talking about is the overall the effects of loneliness. Mm-hmm. It's just not good. It's not good for a person to be caught up and trapped up and confined and don't want to talk to nobody else. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong.
Something's wrong. Absolutely. And like you said, it takes you into another world.
And when you hear a person say, especially for long periods of time, I just don't really want to be around nobody. You got issues.
Yeah.
You really do. You have something has broken down mentally, spiritually, and definitely emotionally.
Right.
When you say, I just don't want to be around people, well, your commission from God, especially a saint. Oh, I don't want to be around. I don't want to deal with. I don't want to be around people.
Yeah.
I ain't talking about for a minute, because we all get those.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about overall. If every time you talk to this person, and they say, oh, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered. Well, you done lost God somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the commission is to go into the highways and byways and compel. So everybody is commissioned to missionary work. Every saint is commissioned to missionary work. And in order to be a missionary, you got to be talking to somebody.
Absolutely.
So we need to be careful, and let's I mean, when we hear and we see people like that, we need to be trying to get them people some help.
Right. Absolutely.
Tell them they need to go talk to a counselor. Maybe they need some medication. I don't know. Definitely need Jesus.
Definitely. Absolutely.
But they need help.
Yep. There was a John H. Perkins, and he wrote a book called "He Calls Me Friend: The Healing Power of Friendship in a Lonely World." It's written back in 2019. Really, pretty much an abstract from an article back in 2019. He calls me friend. The healing power of a friendship in a lonely world. And you just sit and you think about how powerful that is, how you can heal from having friends in such a world that's so lonely because of this social media.
Right.
Because you feel like, the only true friends you have are those that you see on the net.
Yeah.
And through this, you need to learn how to rebuild your friendships or rebuild your relationships outside of that. Because one day this net is going to shut down. And how are you going to go back and learn how to rebuild if you ever lose it? It's kind of like, in the Army, they started going all digital and they're trying to go paperless. But for me, because I'm still stuck in the era of I like to write it down and I like to see it on paper, I'm still struggling between the two.
Right.
I love digital because I can take it with me anywhere. But I also love the paper because for me, I like to write it.
Right.
When I write it down, I understand it better. And then I write it and then type it. And I understand it a whole lot better then. So we live in a world where there's so much change going on that we're losing the thought of how to grow relationships. Because some of us never knew how to build a relationship.
Yeah.
And when I say how to build a relationship, that's not just talking about boyfriend, girlfriend. That's talking about relationship from everybody.
Right.
Relationship with God, relationship with your children, relationship with friends, relationship with coworkers, relationships in general. So when we lose that, we start losing everything else around us. But we are built for connection. We need connection.
Right,
We
right.
have to be connected to people in order to continue to grow.
And it's in our makeup. It's in our DNA makeup. You know, when we're born, we're born both sexes.
Right.
You know, and then it later breaks and separates. So we have always been a dual creature.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason the Bible said, you know, if you read, it says that he took Adam and put him into a deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read before, they had already said we made them.
Made them. Right.
So it was always in God's plan.
Right.
He just broke it down and explained to you how he done it. But Adam and Eve was already connected from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason he just brought woman out. And that's the reason she's called woman, because she was brought out of man.
Mm-hmm.
But she was already there. So we have always been created to be connected. And that's the reason we desire connection even now. You know, we don't know why we desire, but
Right.
we just, there's something inside of us that wants us, makes you want to connect with somebody else.
Yep.
Or something.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, it is in our makeup.
Absolutely.
So we have to understand that we were never designed to be alone.
Right. Absolutely.
Then the Bible, God turned around and said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you.
So you'll never be alone.
So God has been with us from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you even when you was in your mother's womb. So if he knew you in your mother's womb, God must have been in there.
Right there with
talking to you while you was in your mother's womb. He knew what you was gonna be before you came out.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that the hairs on your head. These are things. So we've never been alone.
Right.
And what we have to understand is that God is basically saying is don't stop what I started.
Mm-hmm.
If this is what I started, I'm giving you the blueprint to happiness.
Absolutely.
The reason that we lose a lot of our happiness is because we don't go according to the blueprint. We break it down and we break off, and we get these different ideologies and different theologies, and all. We complicate our life so much, and we don't understand that God is at best simple to man, because he understands man.
Right.
So he don't make life real complicated. We complicate life.
Right.
So in order to not be lonely, find you somebody.
Yep.
And it don't have to be a mate, but find you somebody that you can connect with
and laugh with.
Laugh, enjoy life, you know, live.
Mm-hmm.
Live. That's the key. Is, you know, we have to get to a point where we're actually living instead of existing.
Right.
There's too many of us that's existing.
Absolutely.
We're just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not living.
Yep.
Should nobody be in a state of loneliness? Now, this is not to say anything negative to the person that is, or the people that are, because there's so many. You already said the number 1 in 5.
1 in 5
is lonely.
Yep.
But the other 4, we need to go back and get that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Find out, you know, bond with them, connect with them, figure it out. And if it ain't you, then there's still somebody. 3 more.
Yep. That's
so
somebody.
At least those got to be one out of them other 3.
Mm-hmm.
If it ain't you, somebody still should need to connect with that person.
Yep.
And that's what we need to do. We need to start reaching out to people and loving on people.
Yeah.
You know, break some of these chains of depression, loneliness, and anxiety, and all of these things that people are getting because they're not getting us.
Yeah. Right.
We're the reflection of the image, you know, of who Christ is.
Right.
We're the mirrors.
Right.
We should be the mirror that reflects the image of Christ.
Right.
You know, that was one of the things in I think YPWW, you know, one of the things was that we reflect the image of Christ. So when people see us, they should see Christ. And if we're showing them Christ, then we should be showing them love.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be nobody alone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And, you know, even in saying that, I will go back and say that, you know, though there were great examples of people in the Bible who were lonely, but there were they were there for a reason, and they were examples of how to get out of that loneliness,
Right.
and how to find God in that loneliness. Because as you said, He will never leave us nor forsake us. But we got to make sure that we are His children.
That's
and
right.
hey, I love
You got to
God.
be connected.
You got to be connected to Him. You
Gotta
can't
be
you
connected.
can't be so isolated that the devil's constantly in your ear
Right.
about things and about life. No one has ever walked the earth and been free from pain and free from being lonely.
Right.
I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how wise or how ignorant you are. Your faith, how much love, how much you say you love God, how much you throw it out there, how healthy you are, how unhealthy you are. We all have to face this monster one day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important that we understand that we have a God that can get us out of it. It's even more important that we know that we have friends.
Right.
We have a church. We have built relationship with people that can help us get out of this. Because we're going to always respond to pain. No matter what that pain is, as humans, we're going to respond. We're going to respond differently. And being lonely is painful.
Right.
And it just depends on how you look at that pain and how you bear that pain. But it is painful. But here we are talking about the complexities of loneliness. And there are many avenues of being lonely. There are many things that keep you in a state of being alone or being lonely. Social isolation.
Right.
Social media is something that it's conforming us to be something that we are not designed to be. It's here, but guess what? Now we need to fix it to where we incorporate the connection, the real connection.
Right.
Social media is great. But we also need to make sure that we're connecting with our people so that we can keep a contact within us.
Make sure that you're still in the real world.
Right.
Make sure that you're still doing the things that needed to be done
Yep.
to keep those connections, living.
Right.
And relevant and constant.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, I was saying, for those of us that may like to be alone, be careful, because when you spend too much time alone, people will feel like that you're breaking ties or cutting cutting ties with them, and before you know it, even though it's your choice to be alone, you'll find out that you're lonely.
Yep. And then nobody want to be around you.
Don't nobody want to be around you. So it has to be a balance, and you have to be careful.
Right.
You have to be careful with how you do it. I'm alone, but I still want to make sure that I got connections. All right. And it's not bad to let people know, look, I'm going to a hiatus for a minute.
Yep.
So I'm gonna be, I'm gonna cut myself off for a while, get off social media. I'm gonna put my phones down for a little while. I need time to kind of regress and think and detox myself from so many connections.
Right.
But I'll be back.
Yeah.
And people will honor will honor your wishes, be respectful to your wishes.
Yep.
And grant you the time that you need to get yourself right. And then when you come back, you don't come back with strained relationship where people feel like, you treat me this kind of way. Now all of a sudden, I was
you sent me the voicemail. You didn't answer my call.
I was just taking a break.
Absolutely.
You knew I was taking a break. Now I'm back. Don't trip.
Absolutely.
Don't trip. I need you. You need me. We all a part of God's body.
Absolutely. And I found that's one of the best things to do. I started taking me a day trip or an overnight trip and cutting my phone off, getting off everything. But I will let someone know where I'm going.
Right.
So that if an emergency pops up, somebody know how to reach me. At least 2 people know how to reach me if something comes up. That way it's not, any ill feelings, but you have to get away and just clear everything for yourself. Especially when you have so much going on. You're trying to pour into so many people or so many things that you need time for yourself just to breathe.
Right.
If not, you'll blow up.
Yeah.
You'll blow a gasket.
Yeah.
You blow a gasket. So
it's important. It's important.
Hey guys, we thank you. We love you so much.
Love you.
Complexities of loneliness and social isolation. Let's try to fix this. Let's try to find ways to get out of being lonely. Let's try to find ways to get out of being alone. If you need help or you need prayer, reach out to us on the website. We'll be glad to talk to you. We'll be glad to pray for you. Just let us know if you're going through something. If there's a topic or something that you're dealing with, send a message. You can send it through the website, or you can inbox me. I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind trying to come up with ways to help or to help understand life and some of the things that we're going through. But we need you, as Pastor Sam said, connect with somebody. Connect with somebody so that the love is there and you can understand that you are needed. You are not alone. People in this world are going through so much: relationships, marriages, children. We're going through so much that everybody needs somebody. And we're here for you. We thank you. We love you. Pastor Sam, you got anything you want to say? Close.
God bless you. God keep you. Once again, throw up those hearts. Let Minister Sandifer know that you appreciate the job that he's doing. We love you here. If there's anything that we can do, just let us know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys have a good day. Good night.
Good night.